I can already see the comments. Geoff roasting SAO in big 2026? Rent must be way past due. But counterpoint, if this was about rent, do you really think I would have dropped $110 just to watch a Sword Art Online movie? No, I didn't stutter. Unanswered / Butterfly is the latest film in the anime franchise that defined modern gamer isekai, and the only legal way to watch it is by shelling out for the Ultimate Edition of the new Echoes of Aincrad video game. Now, some might argue that really means the movie's only worth $20, since that's the upcharge from the Deluxe Edition, which itself charges you $20 for the privilege of pre-ordering some DLC and unlocking the game's permadeath mode, aka the only reason half the fans even want to play it without having to complete the whole campaign first. Which is actually more valuable than it sounds, since that campaign consists of the exact same gameplay loop from the 30-minute free demo, stretched out for over 30 hours. Going through that twice might make me activate real life's permadeath mode. But of course, that raises the $70 question of whether 2 total biomes, 7 total enemy types, and 12 metric tons of padding is worth the game's base price. And if you don't think it is, but you want to watch the movie anyway, too f***ing bad, $110, please. Would you want to watch the movie anyway, though? Would anyone? That's the question I'm here to figure out today, and the answer is no. This movie is not worth $110, it's not worth $20, it's not even worth pirating. It is the single worst piece of SAO media I have seen, and it's not particularly close. You could not, in fact, pay me to watch this film again, though thankfully someone did pay me to watch it the first time. Starforge Systems. This video's sponsor makes the sickest anime PCs that any weeb or gamer could ever hope to own. You can put an RTX 5090 in one of these bad boys, and it'll still be more powerful on the outside. I mean, just look at this solo leveling rig. You can feel the aura radiating from it. And their Apothecary Diaries model just oozes elegance. But for my money, the most stunning piece they've released so far has gotta be their Chainsaw Man PC. The splattered up street art aesthetic captures the grindhouse vibe of the manga in a totally unique way, and with all the options they offer for desk mats, wall art, and plate lights, you can easily fit it into a more horror-themed collection or a cutesy anime pop art setup. It's rare to find a display piece this striking that's also that versatile. But of course, that is just my taste, and the great thing about Starforge is they've got a computer for damn near anyone. No matter what anime you like, no matter what vibe you're going for, they've got something that'll make your gaming room pop and tie your whole anime collection together. And of course, you can buy the cases, wall art, and desk mats separately to suit all of your gaming or decorating needs. Just click the link in the doobly-doo to see all the great deals they have going on their summer sale and get the computer of your dreams today. Now, before I could watch Unanswered Butterfly, it was my understanding I had to first watch Sword Art Online Progressive because I'd heard the new movie was part of that alternate timeline. I don't know where I got that from. They have nothing to do with each other. Nor does the movie have anything to do with the original show. It's in its own unique timeline set right after the game that it comes with. But despite that, it does have a bit in common with SAO Progressive, since both are stories meant to fill in the blanks from the early floors of Aincrad, with a focus on Asuna and her friends over Kirito. The difference being that Progressive uses that change in perspective to tell a more interesting and tense death game story with a steady sense of character progression and more robust, likable supporting cast, where the other players in the game actually matter, whereas SAO Grunge uses it to tell a story about how Kirito's the most badass gamer to ever live, and what if he became a player killer? Wouldn't that be terrifying? Starring one of the most insufferable moe blobs ever over-designed, and a Reddit mod who's faking a disability to make that girl pay attention to him. Her name is Emirune, and like 80% of the time she's on screen, it feels like she's being directed by Zach Kreger.
So, we're gonna do it again, and this time, we're gonna go even happier, and with your mouth open.
ビーターがギヤーンってきても縦でムニャッと弾いて剣でズビューンってやんの。そうすれば私ら鬼すごインフィニティ。
Then the other 20%, she's just f***ing whining. To be fair, she does have quite a bit to whine about. Her whole party got wiped out by something off-screen after all, and then Kirito showed up with an orange plumb bob over his head for some reason. Did he murder them? Obviously not, but we're gonna spend at least half the movie pretending like it's plausible anyway. But then, who could the real killer be? The only other guy who was there? But he was on screen. He couldn't have been off screen. Real head scratcher, this one. Especially if you've seen the rest of SAO, which seems like a pretty safe bet for anyone desperate enough to buy this. Because then, as soon as Emirune's only male friend Rex opens his weirdly off-putting little incel mouth, you'll be thinking, there's no fucking way they just did the exact same twist from Phantom Bullet again, right? No shot this is that lazy. And you know what? They didn't. Her childhood friend doesn't turn out to be the secret serial killer and then creep all over her while threatening to stab her. He's her college-aged tutor.
安心して、僕の可愛いプリンセス。この世界では結婚に年齢制限はないんだ。
So yeah, if you miss that old school flavor of SAO where every guy who's not Kirito, Egel, or Klein is either a high school bully or a secret murdering psycho rapist, this is the blast from the past you've been waiting for. The high school bully role is filled by this nameless dude who stands around their friend's funeral with Sharpay over here being all like, "Heh, losers, your friends are dead." Classic Biff. Normally, I wouldn't be sympathetic to these sorts of characters, but after hearing her speak, I'd shove Emirune in a locker too.
みんなをバカにすんなバカ鬼っぽく雑巾にしてやよぐー待ってぐーだねえだつが話してるぐー
Luckily, she's got the mind of a yappy lapdog, so all it takes is a whiff of meat to make her stop whining. Unluckily, though, that doesn't make her any more bearable.
あれ買って
え？
もうお金ないの
は？
Maybe that doesn't seem so bad as a single clip, but the thing about Emirune is she never shuts the f*** up. She's so yappy, sometimes she interrupts herself in the middle of interrupting herself.
っていうかこの曲あれじゃん行こう
おい！
絶対上がるよいっぱい落ち込んだ後はちゃんと元気にならないとでしょほら行くよ
Seeing her favorite idol do an in-game concert reminds Emirune of the time Rex came over to tutor her and she was all like, "Studying sucks, mom won't let me play video games, all I'm allowed to do is stare at this motion graphic of an idol on my iPad and also have it on the TV for some reason." But then Rex was all like, "Actually, life is like a video game," which encouraged her to level up to a B on her next test and earn the privilege of playing SAO at launch. And when she told Rex about that, several days later, Iori's face was still on the fucking TV, so I guess she's like trying to burn it into the display? I don't fucking know. Anyway, after the concert, we find out Iori's guild's recruiting people to clear Aincrad, while this other guild/cult run by a shady live streamer lady is handing out newspapers proclaiming that if you get a game over the right way, you'll actually wake up instead of dying, which I presume ties into the plot of Echoes of Aincrad, because it's got all to do with this movie's story. That finally almost gets started 13 minutes in when they see Asuna swinging around a new sword at Lizbeth's shop.
やっぱめっちゃかっこいい綺麗仲良くしたい
Prompting Rex to explain why he only ever uses a shield. See, he's got full dive non-conforming syndrome, a rare disorder that causes his muscles to lock up when he tries to swing a sword, but doesn't affect any of his other motor functions in any way. And if you hear that and think, hey, that sounds super duper made up, congratulations, you're smarter than literally every other character in this story. With their gear upgraded, they go off to fight a random boar, then on the way back to town, they stop to yell at Kirito in case you forgot in the last 15 minutes why everyone is mad at him. Then some wolves show up and Kirito kills a bunch of them and they're like, dang, if we want revenge on that guy, we gotta get way stronger. And then 22 minutes in, we actually start the main story when they ask Asuna to help them get better. So she teaches Emirune to parry, and then they fight a boar. And then they fight a different boar. And then they buy a hair accessory. And then they fight some tentacle monsters, which goes exactly how you'd expect. And then Asuna kinda sorta teaches Emirun how to do a linear, and then they fight a big deer with the Ori's party, so you don't forget that this is a tie-in to the video game, during which those high school bullies show up to make fun of everyone again, but then Rex throws some knives at the deer and Sharpay gets all horny watching him, and you better remember that, because it's gonna be really important later. But then, even though that's the only fight in the show so far that he wasn't useless in, he starts getting all sulky about how useless he feels thanks to his fake condition he made up, prompting Emirun to try to cheer him up with somehow her most irritating bit yet.
全然平気だけど私めっちゃ強くなったの見たよねさっきもズブワーってじゃあさ直そうフルフテ考えるよりまずアクション当たって砕けろ酒場へゴーゴーゴーゴー
Rex then finds a lead on a potential cure that very night, which would seem suspiciously convenient to anyone who had a single functioning brain cell if such a character existed in this movie. A mythical sword imbued with the blessing of the goddess that is said to cure any ailment. And even though that's like thinking you can fix real-life epilepsy with Valinir, Hammer of the Ancient Kings, they all decide it's worth fighting an owlbear over. Then, when it predictably doesn't work, Emirun decides that's the perfect time for the crash out to end all crash outs.
ちっとも良くないしレックンが戦えないからいつも私が命張ってんのに全然分かってない今日だってそうだよいつも私ばっかり怖い目に遭ってるなんだよフルーテって何様のつもりだろふざけんな育児なしでクソビビり頭でっかちの弱レックス
Now, I know Rex's made-up disability is made up, and you know his made-up disability is made up, but she doesn't know that, meaning that Emirun is, canonically, the kind of person who would tell a paraplegic friend, "Ugh, I'm so sick of waiting for elevators. Learn to fucking walk, idiot." To be fair, she's not quite horrible enough to let that slide without baking her friend an apology cake later, but she is horrible enough to do that with a bunch of rare ingredients from their shared storage that they spent months gathering together, and then yell at him for being disabled again when he gets upset about that.
物事をよく考えてから行動しろ。
はレックンなんて一人じゃ何にもできないくせにバカバカバカバカバカ
So she goes off to blow off steam fighting some monsters and immediately almost dies, having to be rescued by Asuna, while Rex goes off to join that cult, which Sharpay and Biff are also in now, apparently, and now they're friends, I guess. And at this point, you're probably thinking, hey, I thought this was supposed to be like a serial killer murder mystery or something? To which the movie responds, oh shit, dude, you're right, thanks for reminding me. So at the 53-minute mark, those high school bullies come running up like, hey, our whole party's getting serial killed right now, and also Rex is there. And so Asuna and Emirun run in to save them, finding everyone else dead and Rex under attack by a pack of those demons from the Scooby-Doo movie. And after they're cleared out, the pair reunite and immediately get back to being the fucking worst.
謝んないでよ悪いのは私
君は悪くないよ。僕が大人げなくて。
あ悪いよ
だから僕が悪かったって言ってるだろ。
ストップ
Thanks, Asuna. I was this close to ending it. But what does she get for helping these assholes? A story about her boyfriend murdering a bunch of dudes in cold blood, which obviously she doesn't take well and wants to go off and ask him about, but Emirun refuses to let her leave unless she duels her for it first. And at this point, I kind of think it goes without saying that our yappy excuse for a protagonist can't go without saying some fucking bullshit for more than 2 straight seconds in that fight.
師匠私師匠と一緒にいてリアルで会えたら親友になれると思ってただから悔しいよこんなの
She also manages to win it thanks to some kibitzing from Rex, which officially puts her right near the tippy top of SAO's gamer power scale, which is about to become very relevant as Asuna runs off to find her boyfriend anyway, while the cult guild whips itself up into a Kirito lynch mob. After a wee bit of melodramatic monologuing,
くそ僕が一人でやれたらこの体が この腕のせいで。
Rex convinces Emirune to go do the deed in the guild's stead with a poisoned sword, and she doesn't bat an eye when Sharpay asks her to record it for a snuff film either. And indeed, after she ambushes the Black Swordsman, Rex finds that very snuff film in their shared inventory, clearly showing her stabbing Kirito just off screen, which is where the killer was. Maybe it was Kirito all along. No, of course not. After Rex gives her the old "where my hug at, girl," Emirune finally begins questioning his narrative, and all it takes is like 2 seconds of pushing to make him reveal the birthmark on his forehead that's really shocking for some reason that the movie never bothers to explain, and start monologuing. And boy howdy, does he ever monologue.
ああ、バレちゃったか。今回の君は100点満点。現実の世界で人間が動物を自由に殺す権限は誰が与えたのかな。神様か。いや違うよね。システム上プレイヤーを殺せるということは、つまりその自由があるということさ。油断してるバカな奴らへモンスターのヘイトを向けて MPK を仕掛けることだってできる。虫けらのように蹂躙されて死んでいく様は震えるほど快感だった。考えてみてよ。賢いものだけで作る世界、それは世界を汚すものが存在しない機能性と完全性が共存する美しい理想郷だ。それが僕には作れる。キリトを悪人に仕立て上げるのは簡単だった。目覚めた君もすっかり信じ込んでいたよ。いい顔だ。ずっとその顔が見てみたかった。人を殺す感触。そして君はどんないい声で泣いてくれるのか。さあ、先生とお勉強の時間だ。
You know this motherfucker's Sephiroth posting all over Twitter.com.
Well, you know what they say. Can't bake a pie without losing a dozen men.
Oh, you're an irredeemable monster!
What took you so long, idiot?
We're only on floor 3, and he's already got a code name for his evil scheme.
それこそが僕のプログラムエデンだ。プログラムエデンだと。このアインクラッドから愚かな群衆を排除し、里木人間の最高の理想郷を作り上げるんだ。君たちは僕は悪人だと思っているようだが、人間にとっての悪とは、悪の根源とは人間の弱さだ。この世界にとらわれた多くの愚かなものを見てみろ。強いものが失敗すれば群れて吠える。
This shit goes on for 10 minutes, only briefly interrupted by Kirito swooping in to save Emirune, because obviously they faked the snuff film. Rex ain't done monologuing either, but first he's got to drop a smoke bomb and run off to enact his dastardly plan with the help of Sharpay, who is suddenly inexplicably crazy and evil.
これで二人の王国が築けるんだね。嬉しい。
They do take a moment in this interlude to explain how Kirito got the orange plumb bob at the start of the movie, though, which is he just randomly stole some shit from Asuna's house while running out on her to deal with the player killer threat alone, and then he ran into them while it was still orange. So, you know, just a total coincidence. The most satisfying kind of solution to a mystery. So, what is Rex's evil plan then? Well, he posts a bunch of maps to really dangerous areas on the bulletin board with the note saying, hey, there's a special item here that'll let you log out of the game, and then everyone in the entire movie's an idiot, so they all just believe it and immediately run off to get killed. That means Kirito and Asuna have to go save everyone while Emirune runs off to confront Rex alone in the dungeon where he's hiding, which buys him enough time to monologue a marriage proposal at her.
まずは謝るべきかな。失敗を認められない者に王の資格はないから。僕に欠けている大事な要素を君だけが持っていた。
は？
愚かさと弱さ。君を深く理解することで僕の思考は完璧になる。か弱く美しきイブが必要だったんだ。僕の美しいイブよ。さあ、永遠のちぎりを交わそう。
Though not that much time. Compared to the 7 minutes it apparently took them to sneak up on him during his last monologue, it only takes Kirito and Asuna 3 to save everyone across the entire floor from all of the traps that Rex set, and then run in to save Emirune from the monsters that he summoned when she said no. And we only find out about the evil plan like 1 minute before that, so that entire subplot takes up half the screen time of just his first monologue. And again, he does have more in him. While Kirito and Asuna stay back to save a trussed-up Sharpay from some more monsters, Emirune rushes into the weirdly boss-free dungeon throne room to confront her former teacher, who, of course, makes a whole thing out of that.
指導の成果かな。だが、その真の意味をしっかりと理解できているのかは検証が必要。お前、まだ話が。
Girl, you are the last person who ever gets to say that to anyone. Also, wouldn't be a male SAO villain if he didn't waste an entire attack window just to creep on her.
ああ、いい顔だ。君の攻撃は全部覚えてるよ。君は僕にないものを全て持っている。だから、君は僕と結婚するべきなんだ。イブには君こそがふさわしい。
And our usual heroes are a little too preoccupied to come in and save her this time.
あの二人もまさか助けようとした女に背後から突かれるとは思わないだろう。いくらあの二人でも崖から落ちれば確実に死ぬ。
I don't know where he got that idea. Obviously, they can and do survive it quite easily. But she does keep them busy enough that Emirune has to worm her own way out of his clutches, which she does by telling Rex she'll marry him and then sucker punching his psycho ass when he goes for the ring. I do actually really like the animation of that sucker punch, and I guess now's as good a time as any to clarify that I have very few complaints about any of the CGI in this movie. Polygon really brought their A game here, and it might be their best work to date. It's just a crying shame it's all attached to this script.
ああ、もう君は限界かな。せっかく結婚したのに、もうこれが最後なんて本当に残念だよ。
The writers did do one relatively clever thing in this fight by putting a cute little twist on Emirune's extremely anime habit of calling out her special attack names every time she uses them, which she does once more here, only to launch a different attack from the one that she's saying, thus faking out the villain who thinks he knows all her moves. A classic fighting game conditioning gambit that is only slightly ruined by the fact it takes her approximately an entire month to actually land the attack she feinted into, during which she calls out the entire name of the different attack, thus rendering the ruse comically pointless. Nevertheless, it does connect, breaking Rex's sword and leaving him begging her to kill him, then faking her out and throwing a dagger, and then changing his mind and begging her to kill him again. Then Kirito and Asuna arrive, he gets a little bit more monologuing in, and some random deer spawn in out of nowhere and push him off a cliff for no reason. The end. I'm not joking, that is actually how they wrap the movie. Then they follow it up with a random 2-second scene of Sharpay wandering around a tavern, calling out for Rex in a mind-broken haze, because apparently that's how hard she fell for him in the 2 total minutes they were on screen together.
Rex, どこ?
Now, on paper, this ending is technically better than how Phantom Bullet resolved its version of this twist, because instead of waiting around for Kirito to save her from her creepy killer friend, this heroine more or less gets to save herself. Very SAO progressive of them. But in practice, it ends up being substantially worse than the worst part of the show, partially due to the deer thing, but mainly because, of course, that heroine is Emirune, and I simply do not want to see good things happen to her, or bad things, or anything anything, she is profoundly, almost incomprehensibly annoying and unlikable in a way that future generations of extremely patient waifu scientists must one day study. And if I never hear her make a shrill moe blob noise again, it will be too soon. But tragically, it does seem like this won't be the last that we see of her and only dogs hear of her, because right before the credits, we see Rex, who predictably survived his fiery off-screening, getting recruited by a dude from Laughing Coffin. On the bright side, though, this film has finally, definitively proven that it is, in fact, possible to create a worse Sword Art Online protagonist than Kirito. And for me, at least, there's another bright side, which actually has nothing to do with this movie, even though I thought that it did. This project finally pushed me to watch Sword Art Online Progressive, and those movies are actually really good. Not amazing. I'd give the first one an 8 out of 10 and the second like a low 7, but it really is impressive just how much the story can be improved simply by slowing it down and shifting perspective to the substantially more interesting character that is Asuna. Just grounding the action in the POV of someone who's not instantly the best guy in the game does so much to help the horror aspects of the story hit home, and her relationship with her friend Mito creates a through line that gives the boss encounters in each movie some real emotional weight. Hell, it even makes Kirito himself more tolerable. The shift in dynamic from guy who runs around picking up a pseudo-harem by being a stoic badass to guy whose only friends are his wife's friends because despite being a badass, he's low-key still kind of a loser, is just way more entertaining and endearing. He benefits so much from sloughing off the burden of audience insert and actually getting to be a character. So while obviously I would not recommend spending $100 on this movie, I do actually think those ones are worth 4 hours in your Crunchyroll subscription. If all my SAO roasting has ever made you curious to try the real thing out, they are definitely the best version of it, in the same way that this movie is definitely the worst. With that said, though, there is still some pretty darn bad SAO content that I haven't yet gotten around to roasting. The other part of Alicization, in which the Jesus-kun meme becomes more literal than you can possibly imagine, and it's a race to see if he can resurrect in time to defeat the literal CEO of racism from America. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see me take one more crack at the old horse corpse, or if you're happy to just let it lie with this video. I'm Geoff Thew, mostly retired SAO hater, signing out from my mother's basement.